mine was too. Well, we're human. That's the way I look at it.
So, so how how close are we, Miss Barnes?
Are y'all watching this already?
Yeah.
I'm always on.
Test, test. Just make sure everybody's good. Computer's logged in. Ready to go. Okay. All right. So this time I'd like to call the May 29th meeting of White County Board of Education to order. If you would, please rise. Mr. John Smith will lead us in the pledge. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Again, I'd like to appreciate everyone being here tonight. Those that may be joining us on the line, thank you for your interest in the White County school system. So tonight's meeting is limited in scope compared to our regular meetings. The agenda that we're going to consider for approval will be taking up the items for our fiscal year 2026 General Purpose School Fund budget, as well as our fiscal year 2026 school nutrition budget. Also includes consideration of an AIA contract for the classroom additions at Doyle Elementary. So regarding the budgets that we're asked to approve, these will be reviewed during our work session that we held on Tuesday, May 27th, and each board member has been given the opportunity to review and follow up with our director regarding questions pertaining to the proposed budget. So tonight board action is step one of a two-part process. Any budget we approve tonight will go to the county commission for final approval, and then thus have to be submitted to the state. So we're step one of that two-part process. So Tennessee Code Annotated and Board Policy 1400 states that every meeting of the board is open to the public except where law allows a closed session. The agenda for the meetings are posted on the district's website at www.whitecoastschools.net at least 3 days prior to each meeting. State statute requires that each meeting agenda include an item reserved for public comment. A sign-up sheet is made available prior to the beginning of the regular meetings. Individuals signing up prior to the start of the meeting to speak will be recognized in the order listed on the sign-up sheet at the point in the agenda designated for public comment. Board meetings are streamed with help of Warrior Media for live or recorded viewing. Links are provided on the district's website. Attending and or speaking during tonight's meeting implies consent for comments and appearances to be used. So before we consider approving tonight's agenda, is there any board member who would have a conflict of interest on the items on the agenda proposed?
Mr. Chairman, as I always do each and every month and each and every meeting we're in, nothing on the agenda I feel is a conflict of interest, but just a quick note that my wife is an employee of this district, and the thoughts and the comments that are made here tonight are mine and mine alone.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Mr. Chairman, also my spouse is an employee of the district, and so again, my thoughts are my own and are always for the best of the district.
Thank you, Ms. Officer.
Mr. Chairman, much like my two colleagues, my wife is an employee at the White County High School, and my comments and my opinions will reflect me and not her.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. So let the meetings reflect that Mr. McDonald, Ms. Officer, and Mr. Smith all state that they have spouses that work with the district, but nothing on the agenda being proposed tonight would constitute a conflict for them. So this time I'll entertain a motion for approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. Motion by Ms. Fowler. To have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. It brings us to the next item on our agenda, and that is approval of the fiscal year 2026 general purpose school budget. So, just want to, been thinking through this, and there's some things on there that we need to just make sure we're understanding when we go through this process, to give any board member the opportunity to put something on the table to deliberate and for the board to take action on. So, thinking through this, how I intended to do this is that we'll have a motion for approval of the budget, and motion and a second. Upon that, we'll enter into discussion. So during the discussion period, that's when I would entertain any motions for budget to be amended. And so what I would hope as we go through that motions to amend can come up. One motion to amend, and we address that, followed by another motion to amend, and we address that. Then at the end of the discussion, we will make sure that we review what the motion to approve the budget is, and list the amendments if any are brought up. So basically, we'll work through those amendments, come back to the original motion, and pass that based on the amendments. And I've asked Ms. Fowler to kind of help me track those as we go through that, just in case we get a few discussion, and we make sure we stay on track on what we're discussing. And then also, if there are any amendments, then we need to make sure that we get the correct numbers to Ms. Alley, and then go forward with that. So, first of all, does anybody have any questions about how we'll go through that process? Sound reasonable? Okay. Then the next thing before we do any entertaining of motions, so there was several things have need to bring to your attention prior to our meeting last Tuesday. In going back through, there are a few changes that are noted. You've been provided a copy of that in your packet for tonight's meeting. In a big picture summary, we go back and review of the general purpose school fund. The revenues, there was some deductions and then some increases that, based on review by Mr. Markham, that resulted in a loss of $40,520 from the revenue number that we saw on Tuesday night. So keep that in mind. While there were some revenues that ultimately were reduced, and balancing that off with an increase in the local option sales tax, the net of that was minus $40,520 to the revenue that you saw on the proposed budget on Tuesday night. So I guess that would be considered the bad news. The good news is that in reviewing the expenditures, there was an error, a typographical error that was noted in Fund 71300, and basically that deducted $514,765 from an expenditure line. So that was one correction that has been made. Also in 72250, there was software category. There was some recalculation done on actual needs, and so that deducted $27,000 from that line item. And then a posting error on 73400, that particular line item has been reduced by $60,000. So all total, based on the budget that you saw on Tuesday night, our expenditures were reduced by $601,765, giving a new total budget expenditures of $41,722,656. So that still leaves us in a budget deficit compared to what we saw on Tuesday night, but that deficit has been reduced by approximately $600,000. So that is the changes that were made since our meeting on Tuesday. And I'll give our director opportunity if he wants to speak to any of those changes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just like to thank Ms. Alley and Mr. Markham for their work. They, worked through this very diligently, worked very hard on this, and were able to find some numbers and some posting errors and some recalculations that helped us. I appreciate Mr. Markham. We just received a different estimate on property taxes than what's maybe going to actually shake out, and so he was diligent enough to go back and adjust our local option sales tax to help compensate for that, and so got back to close to the original revenue number from the local taxes, and then as you said, we're able to find some good savings through some correcting some errors in our expenditures. So gets us back to a very favorable position, very close to what we were last year, and a very commendable job by both of them. I appreciate their help on that.
All right, thank you, Mr. D. That being said, any other questions about what the new numbers are that you're seeing tonight? Okay. Okay, if not, then I would entertain a motion for approval of the fiscal year 2026 general purpose school budget.
Mr. Chair, for sake of getting into deliberations, I will make a motion on the budget to approve.
Mr. McDonald, have a second? Second by Mr. Smith. All right. Now we enter into discussion.
So I have a discussion. The salaries for the teachers. I briefly spoke with Mr. D about this. We have to put the $1,625 in there, last year, this year, and next year for the teachers. But this amount also includes for all certified positions. I'd like to know how many positions that is over our teachers that we have to catch up with. Did that make sense? So the proposed budget for 71,100, 116. So we have to give the teachers $1,625 raise. Am I not? That's correct, right? So to my understanding, we have put that amount in there also for all certified positions. In that category. So I would like to know how many teachers are in that position and how many over the teachers are in that. Does that make sense? Okay, and then that's the teachers, right? Because at one spot we showed 224 teachers, and then on another paper we showed 220. Okay, so we added it for other certified positions. So how many positions did we add that for over the 224?
All of the certified people, their salary schedule was changed to reflect the $1,625. So that is throughout the budget, everyone that's certified that has been reflected in the salaries.
So right here, the 14,116,000, that's just the teachers only,
Yes.
right there.
Yes.
Our 224,
That is classroom, yes.
that's 224, okay.
And just for clarity, 224, if I understand, we're holding one position open.
That's correct.
Okay, so.
Yeah, I did see that.
Okay, yeah, just for clarity, there's one position in that number that has not been filled. So Ms. Fowler, just for clarity for, I guess for myself and all the board, you just wanting to confirm that code 116, that is teachers' salaries, and that includes the salary scale adjusted by $1,625. Is that correct?
Yes, but that means, so down here for the special education program, that's already added in for the teachers.
Yes, ma'am.
But then, that would be for our vocational education program teachers.
Correct.
Then when we get to the supervisor director, that's $1,625 is added in for them also, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
For what? For the CTE director? Not
Well,
for the,
I'm just going down the thing
yeah,
now.
not for the director of schools. I think the
Oh,
wa-
yeah, sorry for the, yes, it was vocational
Okay.
education. Yeah.
So I think, Ms. Fowler, if I could, the way to look at this is all of these people that you're naming are going to fall under our pay scale for certified employees. And so we apply that 1625 across the pay scales. So it addresses every one of those positions. Several years ago, we talked about doing some differentiated pay and looking at, do we pay our tested subject teachers more than we do non-tested subjects? There's always talk about, special ed teachers and what they do versus some other teachers. And that faced a lot of pushback from our teachers and from our constituency. So, we've had the mindset in our district over the years that we win and lose as a team, and so we've applied the raises across the board that way, laterally, and that seemed to have served us well. So, the plan in that 1625 is to go for all certified positions, which would cover all these that you have. I don't want to cut you off, but it's being applied to the salary scales to which all these people you're talking about fall under. So.
I guess just one thing to add to that, when this is approved, then we would be able to go on to the HR website under the certified salary scale to see, and it breaks it down as far as principals, assistant principals by size of school, and teachers by years of.
You're correct. You can go on there right now, and we've not updated those, but you can add 1625 to every one of those lines in the certified scale and see what it'll go to next year. And again, just I'm saying that the director of schools is not in that list, but everybody else does have a scale there, which their job title would fall under.
Question, is this on?
Yes.
Principals that are certified teachers, are they also part of that 1625 as well?
Yes, there's a salary scale for assistant principals and principals. There's some coordinators that coordinate some programs, like Coordinated School Health, that have their own scale. Every certified person that has a license falls on one of those scales, and the 1625 would be added to their scale.
Okay. Other discussion? So, Mr. Smith?
Working? Okay, good. One thing I want to talk about is the bonus that You're fine. When it has to do with what the bill applied. So the bill applied, that does sound a lot better. The bill applied to a certain group of teachers, and the $2,000 bonus goes to them. If you think about the educational experience of our students, without a doubt, teachers play a primary role in that. But all the staff across the school district have an impact and have a positive reflection on all of our students. And it disappoints me in a way that the bill did not address all the staff that impact our students in a positive manner. I think the board should consider some level of bonus for those teachers, those staff members that were excluded from Education Freedom Act, from that resolution we passed maybe 2 meetings ago, just because of the impact that they have on the students throughout their educational time. And if you'd like me to propose something as far as dollar amount, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to do that.
Well, it can only be addressed as an amendment to this budget with a motion and a second. So, motion and a second would have to be specific to a dollar amount that you would propose with that. So, just as for all our board members, that if you're proposing something for discussion, continue the discussion. But if you're saying you'd like to see the budget amended, then I would have to have a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman, if I could briefly, first I want to say that on the record that my first reaction to this legislation was that, again, we win and lose as a team, so I wanted to find a way that every staff and faculty member in our district got some sort of bonus. I'm also charged with saving money and trying to find a way to have a budget in a very tight budget year and a tight economy. And so when we first started talking about this, my heart was to, and still is, that everybody would receive some sort of bonus. My mind in the budget process was, we're only getting enough money for this many teachers, so that's really where the money needs to go. My heart's still there, but in the previous statement. But what is in your budget tonight is enough money to do just those 291 teachers as defined by the state. There is also the additional money for the other 30 teachers, principals, and school psychologists. That's that other 30. That money is there. My recommendation was to do the money that was offered by the state, which would be that 291. So I just want to make it clear, there is money in there for those additional 30. There is not money in there right now for staff. I am certainly on board with whatever the school board decides to do, but I just wanted to make you understand that as it is proposed tonight, it would be my recommendation to give the money based on the 291, not the other 30. I'm not included in any of that, but only because I'm trying to be fiscally responsible as the board asked me to do. Now, with that being said, I support any decision that the board makes, but I just wanted to be clear of where my heart and where my head is in this process. So thank you for that time.
So my question is, and we just heard a moment ago, there's 224 positions that are certified, but now we're hearing 291. I heard that the other night. I want to make sure, where are the other, 65 or so number? Where does that number come from? The 291, that includes librarians, music, art, counselors, pre-K through 12th grade, correct? Guidance and federal teachers. So that's not included in the 224 that we heard previously. Turn your mic. Turn your mic on. Sorry.
224 is what is then paid out of that one line item.
Okay. All right, and then so 224, then you're going to add all your counselors, your music, your art, all of those folks, guidance, everybody except for your educational aides, your secretaries, and your principals, anybody else in that nature. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm with you, Mr. D. My heart is to give it to everybody, but I've spoke with a couple other districts around us. One is doing everybody in their district. They're matching it dollar for dollar. Everybody that's not on their list of like our 291, they're giving them everything. Another district is only giving the money that was given to us given to them by the state. So there's a big breakup around us on what people are doing. A lot of people didn't even want to take the money, but they saw free money, and they decided that they were going to give it to the ones that the state said. And I'm with Mr. Smith. I really hate that our school psychologists, our aides, those folks weren't. I wish the state would have looked at that a little closer, because the aides, the educational aides that are in those rooms are in front of those kids, and they're in front of those students, and they have as much of an impact as the classroom teacher does. Some points, maybe more, because they're so hands-on with those students. I would like to see us do, and I'm going to let Mr. Smith continue on that, but I would like to see us do something for the rest of the ones that are not included.
So I would like to say that I agree, everybody plays a part. These extra, I think it's 30 licensed admin and the school psychologist, I think some of them are here at the BOE. I get they're not with their teachers all the time, the principals and vice principals. I know they're at the school, but with their students. They're not in the classroom. Neither, and I get the bus drivers and cafeteria and everybody, but these 93 aides, they are there. They are there. Go on a field trip with these students and see how crazy it is out there. These aides are very important, and I'm going to bat for them. I've had quite a few phone calls. I'm not saying that these other people don't deserve a bonus, maybe later, but I feel like the aides definitely deserve something right now. I mean, I've done some figures, and I don't know, and I'm not for giving the extra people the $1,600 and what was it, $25, I think. I think we could look at saving some money there, not giving them a raise. They got one last year, and I get that. We've looked at Putnam County and trying to get up toward their pay scale, but we don't have the revenue coming in that Putnam County has. I think that hurts, and I mean, I'm for everybody. I wish everybody could get it, and I'm going to take some slack on it, but I'm saying what I'm saying, and I'm going to bat for these aides.
I want to take, I'm not dismissing any of y'all's points. I want to go back, though, just to make sure we're clear on the 1625 across the board. And I may rely on our director to help me recall this. When state went to the new TISA funding, there was also, if I'm not mistaken, minimum standard for starting salary. And so we had a period of time for us to move that salary scale up. And that 1625 is part of the process of getting our salary scale moved up to get us in compliance with that minimum starting salary. After the minimum starting salary has been reached, then the pay scale will continue as it is in effect now. It's just going to be reflective of $1,625 per year more than what it is now. So the 1625 is money that we have to incorporate into our pay scale to get us state compliant on teachers' pay. Is that close?
It is. There's nothing mandated that we do that this year, but you'll just have to double up next year in order to get them there. So we split the difference and tried to make it. We do have to get starting teacher pay to $50,000 next year. We don't have to address it to everybody else, but those are raises that we had projected. What we've customarily done is across the board, as I've said, and you get into we've already heard when new teachers are getting a $1,600 raise, and then you've been here 20 years and you don't get anything because you're not part of that category. So we've done that across the board. I would push back. I fight for the aides too. Like I said, there's a part of me, but we're not just talking about aides. We're talking about our cafeteria workers and the role that they serve. They were here till 5 o'clock last night serving meals to folks, and our bus drivers and bus attendants, and there's all kinds of people. Everybody, We all wear different hats. We're all doing the same job. We're loving kids and working hard for them each day. But we all serve important roles. And I agree that the aides are very important, but there's a lot of other staff that do important jobs too. And there's also a lot of studies that I'll go to bat for principals, because there's a lot of studies that show the most important factor in a school, successful school, is their leadership and the principal in that school. And we're blessed to have some really good principals leading our schools and our districts. We don't change principals very often, and that's not said everywhere. So, I would argue that that's a really important person, because they're helping hiring those teachers and those aides that they're putting in there. So, anyway, so to answer your question, we really we don't have to do anything with 1625. We need, in my opinion, we need to do that this year so that we can do the same thing again next year and get to 50,000 minimum. It's just been our custom to put that across the board, and that's offered a raise to all of our teachers. If we don't do that, then we're probably going to have to go back and rethink what we're doing as far as our budget, because that throws our budget numbers off. That's what we budgeted for, was 1625 across the board for our certified staff and 2% for our classified. So beyond that, if the board wants to entertain a bonus for our support staff, then that's something different. But it's my recommendation we do 1625 across the board for certified, 2% for staff, and then discuss an additional bonus if the board wants to add to anything outside of what the state's provided.
Okay, so there any questions? I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that, because we are talking about two different numbers. Talking about teacher raise, which is across the board to our salary scale. That's for certified teachers, and then classified staff getting 2% across the board raise based on the salary scale that's in place for them. So draw the line there between those two items, because those go together. The bonuses, that's a different topic. So I'm going to ask that we, if there's any discussion we want to have regarding the 1625 and the 2%, the 1625 adjustment to our salary scale for certified and 2% for support staff, let's have that discussion and then move forward from that, because otherwise we're going to get a little confused on what we're talking about, because they are two separate items.
All right, I do have just one other thing, and it's going to be along the lines of the TISA funding that we get. So last year, we got roughly $31,240,666 in TISA funding. The state is making us give this money, or get the pay scale to $50,000, but yet they've cut our TISA funding $932,000 this year, but they still expect us to meet their standards. Why are they, and I know this is nothing that nobody in this room can answer, but why are they not held to the same standard that we are to be able to fund us in the matter that they want to make us fund our district?
Well, it's really a legislative, solution, but the answer, what the state will say is that they have provided the funds for the necessary raises that they've required. However, our expenditures continue to go up because if we do raises across the board or we do bonuses for our staff, if our utilities go up or the cost of buses everything goes up, all of our expenditure prices go up, but our revenues continue to go down. They're going to make the argument that there's enough money based on their figures to pay those particular raises, which they're correct. But what they're not accounting for and what they won't acknowledge is that the ceiling of our expenditures continues to rise while we continue to receive overall less funds.
The thing about that is we have been very good with our money. We've had a very good plan for the last 25 years, I would say, to put us in this position to be able to take care of our people and our teachers and our staff. I'm afraid that the state's not looking out for those smaller districts that are around us. Going to be hard for a county like Van Buren County, which is our neighbor, to get there and to be competitive to keep teachers. I think someone needs to hold the state legislators' feet to the fire. I know our expenditures go up, our revenues sometimes go down, but I think there needs to be some folks that are held more accountable instead of just throwing money at something that doesn't mean anything in a bill that's not going to help us. And let's invest in our students and our teachers and our faculties and our folks that are making a difference in these kids' lives, that is going to be the next leaders of this state. So that's just, I'm sorry, I'm on my soapbox, sorry.
We will allow a little soapbox time during this meeting.
Okay. Oh, thank you. So I just want to try to clarify and make sure I've got this right and everybody watching understands. So in order to get where we need to be for the state level for new teachers, we need to do $1,625 raise for each teacher, certified teacher, this year and next year. But it's also been put in the budget for $1,625 raise for the ones that are not teachers. For the, I missed my paper, I've moved it. For the certified, am I right?
Yes, for all the certified, licensed people. Yeah.
Okay, but that's principals,
Yes,
vice principals, people at the Board of Education,
supervisors.
okay, that are not the teachers. And I see what you're saying, but I just want to make sure the people watching understand what's being said.
You're saying that you want it to go to the classroom teachers and not principals, curriculum coaches, assistant principals.
That's how you want to put it. That's okay. But I'm just saying, I've counted 14. So I don't know. There may be more because you said curriculum coaches and stuff, so I've probably got more. So, because I'm just looking at this 3.6 million negative, and I know we're coming out to the good this year, correct? And we was what, 3.2 million last year? Am I right? 3.2 million in the hole last year when we passed it. But we're coming out we think we're going to come out 1.2 million to the good now this year, maybe.
We're running consistent with where we were last year, which was about $2 million to the good last year. So
Okay. So, I mean, I think that's a big difference. And people in the public are asking, how can we have a 3.6 million in the hole and then come out 2 million to the good?
Well, I think we've explained that many times, that we overestimate our expenditures and we underestimate our revenues, and that allows us to fall in that window. I think having a 3.6 compared to 3.2 overage this year is pretty commendable on our part, seeing all the increases we've talked about, all the raises we've been able to give, everything we've been able to do, and we in essence have raised it $400,000 from last year. I think that's pretty incredible on my part. Not on my part, on our part as a team putting that budget together. So it's a lot. It's an incredible amount of money, and we're not taking that lightly. But I think that our team's done a good job of getting it to only $400,000 with all the expenditures we're talking about, even with, adding in a lot of these raises for everybody, which I think are well deserved.
And I'm not saying they're not well deserved, and I think everybody has done a great job, but this goes back to where we're saying, we can't give bonuses to somebody else, and I know, I gotta take that away, sorry. I'm not getting on that soapbox yet.
Thank you, Ms. Fowler.
If I could just say something to that, that's what I'm saying. We can give bonuses. If the board wants to take money, more money out of the bank to give bonuses, we can do that. But I don't feel like you can tell me to be fiscally responsible and we're too high at 3.6 over, and then at the same time saying don't have enough money to give to aides. So I feel like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. If you want me to give money to aides, we can do that. The board can take $200,000, $300,000 out of the bank, and we can do it. But I can't be held to that. I'm not being fiscally responsible, but at the same time, we need to give more money in bonuses.
So if I could for just a second. Mr. D, you did what, as a board, we would expect you to do. You put together a proposed budget, and it comes to us, and you've had to make discretionary decisions on that. And then, board members, this is our opportunity where we get to have a say in what money will be spent. And if we elect to add to what has been proposed, that will be our choice. That won't be the director's choice, because we were not presented a budget with that in place. So if we want to make adjustments to that, then we will be the ones making that. It will not be our director or fiscal agent that will be doing that. It'll be our decision, which is okay because we have that prerogative. I think, and Ms. Fowler, I see kind of your position on that. When I'm looking at overall increases, and it says teachers' raises, and it says 1625 across the board salary scale adjustment. When I see that, I think of the teachers that are in the classroom. I think, for clarity, going forward, that probably should be licensed, or it would be certified employees, and then support staff should be referred to as classified employees. Because otherwise, we think of teachers as being those in the classrooms with the kids, but that's not the case here. The case is we're saying raises for our certified employees across the board. That's going to be reflected in the White County Board of Education salary scale. That scale would be adjusted on all levels, $1,625, and then classified employees, classified staff would get a 2% across the board raise to their salary scale. So that just, to me, that brings clarity to what I'm looking at. Ms. Stone.
1625 is kind of black and white. This 2%, that's just according to what position they're holding. So what would the average 2% raise be to the people that's not holding the licensure?
They would look at their salary scale and multiply that by 2%, and then they could see what the adjustment would be for next year. They,
So we don't know what the average might be?
no, they're all different. I mean, there's
Yeah.
people been here 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, so it just be based. They can look at their salary scale and add 2% to that, or multiply that by 2%, and then they can see what the adjustment would be for next year.
Well, I'm kind of on the same scale that, we're in a hard year with all this, talking about the property tax increase and everything. And just like she was saying, when you're looking at hard numbers and it looks like we're going to be close to, $3.5, $4 million in the hole, and then when we get around to the next year, we was actually 2%, 2 to the good, that's 6, that's a big window. I mean, if the window was tighter, you could actually, like, if this had been this year and we have 2 to the good, we would have had the money to pay the support staff. But when we was looking at it last year and we was looking at a -4, we was thinking, oh, we can't afford to pay them. But if we knew we was going to be 2 to the good next year, we could afford to give them maybe a $500 bonus or something. But, with that big window, we don't know where we're going to fall, is what I think with the point that she was, trying to say, if at this point when we're looking at the -4, it's like, it's hard to think about giving somebody a raise, considering everybody knows the property taxes is going up, and everybody's strapped and everybody's trying to cut pennies because the commissioner's saying we're only getting so many pennies and everything. But if we knew we was going to come up with that surplus next year, it would be easier at this point to give a raise. But there's also, this is a time that, if everybody felt like people needed the money and needed more money for, like you say, the taxes, and they needed more money for this, I mean, we could pull the building onto Doyle off to maybe the next year and let people have a raise. I mean, that would save enough money to probably put the raises into the scale. But, that's just something to throw around.
Ms. Stone, I agree with you. I mean, we have that window because traditionally we just don't know. Like I said, I found out today that we lost another $60,000 based on TISA estimates, and that's not even the last one. We'll get another one after this budget is approved, as we'll get our final. So we just don't know. So traditionally we have budgeted in that margin, and that's worked well for us. That's why we were able to even entertain the Doyle project, because over the years we've been able to put money back where most districts will have to go and borrow money against the county to do that sort of thing. We've been fortunate enough to be able to do projects like that. So I don't disagree. If the board wants to do something different, I'm fine with offering that bonus. I mean, if the board wants to entertain that, I certainly think they deserve it. And I don't think anybody here is arguing that none of our employees don't deserve a bonus. But it's just a matter of how close do we, want to get. I presented a budget that I thought the board was asking me to do as far as being fiscally conservative and trying to keep it close in a tight economy. I think we've done that. I certainly want to do more than a 2% raise. I'd like to give our teachers more than $1,600, but I'm trying to be as conservative as I can and still fall within that window. So I appreciate your comments.
I agree. We definitely need to be conservative here in, White County, because our county's falling into a crisis, it seems like. And I appreciate you being conservative, because I think the more conservative, the better, because I think the county is looking at having to cut other things that the county, would like to have, ambulances and, fire trucks and all that stuff, but they want to educate their kids too, so we're all in this together.
So, Ms. Stone, appreciate those comments. So, sitting here listening to the discussion going back and forth, and it's healthy. I appreciate you guys participating in this. This is good. Ms. Stone, you bring up an interesting point so I just want to lay something out for board, just for us to consider what options we have. If the board wanted to do something, if the board wanted to do something for those that may get left out of this certified and and classified staff throughout the year. That could be brought up throughout the year, because I understand what you're saying. If I knew now what 2025 would look like, if I'd known that back in 2024, well, I might have had a different take, but we don't know. However, keep in mind that we do see financials every month throughout the year, and we have the resources to get projections from our director, Mr. Markham, so where those things could be addressed throughout the year. It could be a budget amendment. Now, we would still have to get that approved by the county. Is that correct, Mr. Markham? So it would still have to go through the regular channels for approval, but if, for example, we thought we were going to be running a surplus and there was a group that did not meet here but wanted to recognize them, that could be done in anytime throughout the year. That is my understanding, unless I get somebody in the back saying no, you can't. But that could be done. So, as from a board standpoint, I just want us to know, I mean, we have discretion throughout the year based on looking at numbers. So just keep that in mind in your decision making, okay?
We're still in the actual point of the raises across the board, correct? Was that where we're in discussion now?
Yes, sir. We're
okay.
We
So-
have, yes.
So I just done some quick math here. We were talking about, and I just used $20,000 as a salary as a good easy number to do math on. If you do 20,000 times 2%, that's $400 that they would get, that their salary would go up. 2.5 is 500, and 3% is 600. So I would like to see some of our support staff get a little more than 2%. Don't know what anybody else thinks here on the board, but those folks put in as many hours as the ones that are getting the 1625. Would like for them to feel a little bit wanted and recognized with something. I know 2% is nice, but $400 over 10 months or 11 months or whatever it is, it doesn't break out to be very much. But I still want them to feel like that we're thinking of their best interests, or we're trying to help them out in a time that's tough budget-wise. So I'd just like to hear what everybody else thought on changing the 2% to something maybe just a little bit higher.
So, Mr. McDonald, if it's board's pleasure, you can, we can continue to discuss it. If you're going to take action on it, if you're going to want to take action on it, you would have to express that in the form of a motion.
Okay, just so maybe let's strike what I just said, and let's continue, not have to amend the budget because the 2% is already figured into that raise. The 2% is already in our budget. So I think that would be something that we need to address in this next step that we're going to as far as the bonus. So you can take my comments for what they were, but I'm not going to put them into a motion for deliberation.
Okay, I'm just going over the basic increases as listed on our budget summary, and if no one is going to make a motion on our certified and classified salary scale adjustments across the board, then I'm going to move on to the next item, and that is the Freedom of Education Act the $2,000 bonus to our licensed teachers. Again, we passed a resolution that we would participate, and the state will give us $2,000 for licensed teachers that meet certain criteria of student engagement. Meaning, it was stated in the legislation of who would qualify for that $2,000. So we passed a resolution that we would participate, and that $2,000 is in there, and the total of qualified, certified, licensed teachers that met that criteria was 291. And we should not confuse ourselves thinking that's just a classroom teacher. That would be a certified teacher that met the statute requirements of student engagement. Am I correct, Mr. D, Ms. Alley?
Yes, that's correct. As defined by the state of Tennessee, they sent us a list. We confirmed that list, and our number was 291.
Okay, so there's not a debate on the 291 because the 291 was the number that we have to fund. We're just passing through. The money's coming from the state, and the state says, we said based on their definition of what qualifies for this bonus, we have 291 licensed teachers that qualify for that. So there's really no debate on that number, okay? Because statute says that's what we will spend, and or our resolution says that's what we'll spend, and that's already included in the budget. The $2,000 local bonus is for 30 licensed administrators and school psychologists. So that is a $60,000 local bonus that is in our budget currently that will be paid in fiscal year 2026. That money will stay in our budget unless it is motioned and approved out. So right now, the budget and the numbers that we see, that $60,000 is included. So the only way that money is not paid is that if we motion that out. So did I explain that correctly, Mr. D, Ms. Alley? Okay. So I just want to make sure that we're clear in understanding that money's already it's been recommended that we approve that bonus. So,
I'm sorry. I just want to clarify. We do have that money in there, but my recommendation based on this budget was to only pay the 291. We did put money in there because Ms. Alley and I had conversations about including the other 30 that were in there, and I certainly want and think our administrators and those other 30 deserve it. Again, I'm not part of that. But I also don't want to add any local. I'm not recommending any local bonuses if we're not adding a bonus to our support staff as well. So the only money that I'm recommending that there is $60,000 in there, but again, we lost $60,000 in revenue today from TISA funding. So that would be a wash. So to add anything would be another addition. What I'm recommending as far as bonuses go in this budget is to only award the money to those that were defined by the state, which is the 291. I want to give more, but that would be a board decision. We did have that money in there, but again, the 291 is what I'm recommending because I don't want to, as much as I want to support our principals and those that are in that 30, I don't want to give a bonus to just those 30 if we're not going to acknowledge everyone else that's not on that list.
Okay, board members, so, we can discuss that, but I just want to make sure we're clear so we know what we're voting on. I apologize for the redundancy, but
Mr. Chair-
$60,000 is in our budget for those 30 licensed administrators and the school psychologists. It was in there, but our director is saying that he would recommend not paying that bonus if we don't pay other support staff. And so I think that is the decision as a board we have to make.
So, Mr. Chair, I'm looking at our page 3 of our revenues, line item 46,590, I believe is what it is. So it's $734,000 and $734,240. Is that the number that the state has sent us for those 291 teachers? Because the bonus, from my understanding, it's $2,300 and something per person, but they're going to make it to where it's $2,000 even on their check as a bonus. Is that correct, Mr. Markham? Go ahead, Miss Sally.
The $2,000 will go through payroll just like normal with the benefits that the employees always pay will be deducted from that. The state is sending the employer portion of the benefits, retirement, Social Security, and Medicare, along with that $2,000. So I think the percentage is like 13.42%. I believe that's what I figured on. The state says close to 23, but it's according to what each county's TCRS revenue would generate.
Our teachers, the ones that are included in this, on their check will see $2,000, or will it be a little more, a little less, depending upon what their?
They will have a gross pay of $2,000, but their net check will not be $2,000.
See, that's not what I understood, that the state said that they were going to send to where.
So the state sent to Miss Allie's exactly correct. So every time that we run a payroll check, even for you guys, the county pays 6.2% to Social Security. You pay 6.2% to Social Security. We pay 1.45% to Medicare. You pay 1.45% to Medicare. And then on teachers, we also pay a percentage for TCRS retirement, and the teachers pay 5% as well. So what the state has done is given the counties enough money to cover the county expenses. The employees still have an expense. They still have to pay Social Security, Medicare, retirement, and then whatever federal income tax bracket they're in too. There's no way for the state to send an exact dollar amount for everybody to get a net check of $2,000.
I don't think our teachers understood it that way. I think whenever they were watching the proceedings from the legislature, I don't think they took it. The ones, at least the ones I've talked to, didn't take it that way.
I think it'd probably be fair to say that the legislatures don't understand that either.
I would agree with you 100%. I would love for some of our legislators to sit on this board or any board and deal with what they think that they've put out that's going to work right. So
I think we should do a public service announcement on this, saying that anybody that's getting pay a bonus, they should not expect it to be a net bonus. They should expect it to be a gross bonus, and you will have to pay your income tax, your Social Security, and Medicare. That will be deducted. Only on a very special occasion would you ever see a net check of a bonus. Okay, I'm sorry, I digress. I shouldn't have done that. All right, so regarding the bonus, there's the state reimbursement. There's nothing that we do on that bonus. We've already committed to doing that. So the next is the $2,000 local bonus for 30 licensed administrators and 30 and one psychologist. Excuse me, total of 30 licensed administrator and school psychologist. In the budget, there's $60,000 for those 30 individuals. And the recommendation from the director is that we not pay that bonus if we're not going to pay the remaining support staff that also participates to the education of our students. This probably won't make me popular, but I'm going to make a motion that we remove the $60,000 for the local licensed administrator and school administrators and school psychologist budget bonus from our budget. So I have a motion. Do I have a second? Motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second. Now discussion.
So I'm still new at this, so if Robert. Well, the amendment I would make is to leave the budget as presented today without removing the 60,000, but also include, and I would ask you numbers to make sure I'm correct. Also add in a $500 bonus for those staff that were not included in the resolution we passed. 60 the 30 that Mr. Chairman mentioned. $500 bonus for those staff would be $132,920. Cafeteria staff, that this bonus comes from our general purpose funds and not from the cafeteria funds, would be $27,689 for a total of $160,609. And that's a $500 bonus for those staff that are not reflected through the Freedom of Education Act or, no, that because the others are already in our budget. That was probably clear as mud.
All
Yes.
right. Okay. So we have a motion to remove the bonus. A motion and a second. Mr. Smith, I heard you say that you'd make a motion, propose something else. That would be an amendment to the motion that's on the floor. Okay? So I'm just trying to write this down. I would need you to be clear in what your motion is, so that way we can. Yeah, I think I need you to be more clear on exactly what your motion is.
Okay. Oh, I would leave those.
Okay, so, all right, I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'll stop you right there.
Sure.
Then you would express that in the vote. Meaning the motion is to remove it, you would vote no.
Okay.
In order for that to stay in.
Okay.
Does everybody agree with information I said? So we're gonna have to we should vote on that first. Okay? So have a motion on the floor and a second to remove the $60,000 bonus for licensed administrators and school psychologists. I have a motion and a second, and any discussion about removing that reason why it would come out or why it would stay? Any discussion on that?
Yeah, but, I mean, there'd be a point of order here, I think, at some point, because what he's motioning and what you've motioned in second is just a cancellation. I think you're on the, he don't have a second on his motion yet. Amendment.
And Mr. McDonald, I understand what you're saying, but you, in your motion, you said you would not. Well, what you're expressing there is your
My
vote
motion.
on
Right.
on my you're expressing, you're trying to
Undo what
I
yes,
just did.
I understand.
You can't do that.
You can redact your motion.
You can redact
Yeah,
your motion.
I'll redact my motion
Okay,
and
so
we'll vote on
Mr.
yours.
Mr. Smith's amendment has been redacted. Again, we're going to get back to motion on the table, and that is whether or not we remove the $60,000 bonus. So, have a motion and a second. Anybody, any discussion on that?
Just for my clarity, your motion is to remove the 30 folks, which would be your principals, assistant principals, BOE or certified staff, Ms. Barnes, Ms. Haley, and the 3 school psychologists from that bonus. Those were the ones that were not included in the 291.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, motion and a second. Going to do a roll call vote on this because I just want to make sure we get we get all votes properly counted. I'll start to my left, Mr. Smith.
Oh.
Ms. Douglas. Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
You're voting to remove it.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Fowler.
Yes.
Ms. Stone. Ms. Officer.
No.
Okay. So I've got three. I got 3 no's and 1 yes. My vote is yes. We remove it. So I'm affirmed. So the $60,000 will be removed.
Okay.
All right. Any other? All right. So now let's get us back to where we're at. We have a motion for budget approval of the general purpose school fund for 2026 that has been amended to remove the $60,000 for the bonus of a licensed administrator and school psychologist. So, we are still in the discussion phase. So, do we have any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make an amendment motion at this time. I would like to see us add back into that our school psychologist, our principals and assistant principals, and if my math's correct, that would be $42,000 for those folks that are in front of students on a daily basis.
Okay. I have a motion. Let's have a motion to add, Mr. McDonald, could you repeat that? You said principals?
I would like to add our principals, assistant principals, and our school psychologist back into that bonus that was not covered under the Freedom of Education Act.
All right. Have a motion to,
And according to the paper we have in front of us, that's going to be $42,000.
all right, so,
No, that leaves It's 32 plus. Nope, sorry. No, it's less. Be 39,000, I believe, 38 or 9,000. Anyway, three school psychologists, 8 principals, 8 assistant principals. That's my motion to add back.
Did you say a dollar amount with that?
I did, but I don't know that it's correct. 16 and 16 is 32, plus my math's terrible, so add another 6 to that. Right here, this is 8, that's 8. No, I'm not counting them. Yeah, I'm leaving out the BOCE certified staff. And I hate to do it, Miss Barnes, but I'm leaving you out and Miss Haley. So eight principals, 8 assistant principals, that's $16,000 apiece. That's $32,000. So 3 school psychologists, that's $6,000. So that'll be what, $38,000?
It's $38,000. So
Okay.
I'm not trying to make your motion. I'm just
Yeah,
trying
no,
to make sure we clarify it.
Yep.
Mr. McDonald, I have a motion on the floor by Mr. McDonald to budget $38,000 for $2,000 apiece for 8 principals, 8 assistant principals, and 3 school psychologists. Have a motion. Do I have a second? Have a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, motion fails for lack of a second. All right, we are still on budget approval for general purpose school fund for 2026. That removes the $2,000 bonus for licensed administrators and school psychologists totaling $60,000. That motion has been approved. So, any other discussion on anything pertaining to those 2 items?
Just have a question. We have 93 aides, correct? I want to verify what the paper says. That's what everybody sees, right? Okay.
Take your time. We're not in any rush. This is important.
I don't know.
I have a question then. Okay,
Ms. Officer?
so I'm new also to this. So when he redacted whatever his term was, we took it back. So we know there's going to be another step. It was recommended that the 60,000 be removed if we couldn't have bonuses for other people. So the way it stands right now, we just removed it. At what point will we be able to say, hey, I like that 60,000 if we add more to it?
That would be right now.
So,
Thank you, Ms. Officer. That would be right now, and so I want to give you a chance to speak to that. Mr. D has something he wants to say, so I'm going to recognize him.
Well, I just want to say that if I knew it was the board's prerogative that we wanted to do bonuses this way, we would have put together a budget as such. You know, I was instructed to try and be fiscally responsible and just spend the money that that we have, and so I've done that. And I'm as I said many times, I probably would have come forward with a budget that said pay the $2,000 to every certified person and a $500 bonus to all staff, to try and be fiscally responsible, but at the same time acknowledge everybody on our team. I would have not come to this board and said, I want to leave these 4 people out and single this group of people out because they're more important than this group. That's really bad for our team, and I would have never proposed a budget like that. It's been that we've done some things like that over the years, and they're not received well. But again, I work for you. I'll do whatever you want to do. But had I known that, I would have put money, I would have had a different budget if I thought that was the board's prerogative that we wanted to do that. So I just want that to be said, that I would have provided a different budget had I been instructed that that was what we wanted to do. We had conversations about the money coming in. I felt like I had an opportunity for the board to say, this is where we'd like you to go. I didn't get any of that feedback, and so I'm not saying you have to prove exactly what's given, but I would have provided you with a different document had I known that that's where the board wanted to go. Again, I probably would have recommended trying to be conservative, give the 2,000 to the people, and then if you wanted to just say everybody not on that list, a $500 bonus, I would have done something like that to try and acknowledge but still be fiscally responsible. But I apologize if I haven't given you the budget that you wanted, but I was going on the information that I had. So,
Well, Mr. D, I appreciate that, and appreciate your patience as we work through this. No, we didn't give you any guidance for how to address what we knew was coming, and that was the state reimbursement. So,
Mr. Chairman, if I could interject real quick. Mr. D, you and I had email conversation, I'm going to say 2 weeks ago, but time's kind of a void right now, where I'd asked for the information that Mr. McDonald has, and you'd shared all that with the other board members. And again, it goes back to me being new on the board and trying not to confer with other board members outside of an open setting. Had I asked the other board members, what do you think outside of this setting, that would be breaking some level of, Mr. President, some law, I'm sure, that I couldn't do that. So, maybe phooey on me, lesson learned to, going forward, I'll be more direct in my approach with these kinds of matters. But I believe we're to a point that, nothing is set in stone other than the removal of those 30 positions. There's nothing that says we can't look at some level of bonus, which would include those 30 positions, and move forward. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
that is correct, Mr. Smith.
Okay.
This is our time to discuss it. We have had meetings prior to this, and that hasn't been brought up, and it wasn't asked to put that on the agenda. So yeah, I mean, this is our time to address that, and again, appreciate what was brought, Mr. D, Miss Alley, Mr. Markham putting together, and just bear with us as we work through this. But, so again, board members, if you want to address anything, we'll hold this part of the discussion open a little bit longer. But
Well, I'll go back to my clear as mud amendment that I tried earlier and restate. I won't have actual numbers this time because of the previous motion that was approved, but all those staff outside of the Freedom for Information, that's the wrong one, Educational Freedom Act, all those outside of that, I am proposing that they get a $500 bonus that includes cafeteria staff, and the general purpose funds would cover all those amounts. Essentially, the cafeteria staff budget would not cover the $500 bonus for those staff. That is my motion.
all right, so just make sure that state this correctly. I have a motion on the floor to bonus certified staff, classified staff, $500. Is that,
I think he probably meant to say everyone not covered by.
That's exactly what
Okay.
I'm trying
When
to
we're
Sorry, I'm
talking,
sorry.
when we're
I'm
talking
sorry.
everybody, are we talking
full-time staff.
cafeteria,
Yes.
BOE staff, everybody in this office, cafeteria, secretaries, bus drivers, everybody from top to bottom, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Everyone that is on that sheet that you provided to us, except that, well, everyone that's on that sheet, that's not in the 291. Yes, sir. I'm going to say that's correct, yes.
So, for my clarity,
I'm thinking around 120.
for my clarity, that means the 30 that we just took out would qualify for that. Every full-time employee not covered under the 291, $500 bonus.
Yes, sir.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Smith, $500 bonus for full-time staff, the district. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Could
ma'am.
we get a figure of what that would be before we make that motion?
Well, he's already made the motion,
Oh.
so I'm just looking for a second. If we get into discussion, we
Second.
can ask. All right, so I have a motion and a second by Mr. McDonald. All right, now we're in discussion. So, Ms. Stone, I recognize you.
What would that figure be if we included everyone other than the ones that was getting the $2,000?
If you look at the 30 staff that we're adding into that, and, add it to the 160, which the 160 I mentioned earlier includes not only the bonus, but also the additional pieces that are part of it too, the taxes, the retirement, those things. If you do raw figures, you're probably looking at least 200,000. Would that be fair, looking at those 30 staff, around in that amount-ish?
How many support staff do we have?
I don't,
That would be close.
Yeah.
I mean, it would probably be a little more, but I think that's a fair round figure.
That's what I'm doing. I'm getting 157, but I may have missed something.
Ms. Stone, we're trying to confirm that number.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not, they are.
He's doing it in his head, and he's blowing my mind. Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Stone,
65 without.
Well, no, that's the 30 here. That's everybody.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, it'd be plus the 170 for that. This
Yep.
number's plus the 170.
all right, Ms. Stone, for $170,000 for $500 bonus for full-time staff not covered under the Freedom of Education Act. All right, so I have a motion second. We're in discussion. Do we have any other discussion? All right, then we're going to vote on Mr. Smith's amendment.
Who did the second?
Mr. McDonald. Mr. McDonald. All right, so we'll start to my left. Ms. Officer. Ms. Stone? Ms. Fowler?
No.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Ms. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes. All right. All right, so now we're going to continue our discussion on approving the motion for approving the budget approval for the general purpose school fund, removing the $2,000 bonus to local licensed administrators and school psychologists, but adding $500 bonus for full-time staff. That is where we are on our original motion to approve the budget. I think we have covered those areas. Are there any other budget items that we need to consider? So, out of respect and transparency, then I'm going to move to our budget line item for our director's salary. Our number of 120,000 was put into the budget that's presented to you, and so unless there's a motion and approval to adjust that number, then it will stay at 120,000. But if we're going to adjust that number, then this is the time that we would address that particular line item. So I would need a motion and a second if we're going to have discussion on that particular line item.
Mr. Chair, I would like to, no disrespect to Mr. Drumbarger, and I hope you don't take it this way. Fantastic job he's doing here for our district, but I don't think I can vote for a 15 to 18% raise for him when we're only doing 2% across the board. Essentially going to be 4% at some point with the bonus that we've put in. I just don't think that number is a good number. I would like to amend our budget to make that a $110,000 for his salary this year, with hopes that next year we can do more.
All right, I have a motion on the floor to amend the director's salary to $110,000 from $120,000. I have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Second, Ms. Fowler. Now discussion.
Like I said, I don't want Mr. D to think that it's a slide in his way anyway, but it would just be hard for us to, and I know, like he said many times, we win as a team, we lose as a team. I think he's done a fantastic job for this district. We're miles ahead of where we've been in years past. And I want to put money in his pocket, but I don't want to do it at the expense of everybody else. I know we are well under the salary range, and I appreciate the information you sent to us and all the things that you've done. I appreciate all that information, and I want you to continue to do that job. But I think this is a good spot for us to be, and I hope that you understand how I feel.
Okay, have a motion, second. We're in discussion regarding director's salary.
I agree with Mr. McDonald. Mr. D, I think every department has done great trying to cut corners. I know this is very difficult, and sometimes you feel like we hound you to death, but thank you, and that's all.
Still in discussion. All right, so I'll share my thoughts on that. When you take the name out and you look at the position and you look at market comp for the position, White County is underpaying. It's our prerogative. We pay our director. The board pays our director. We set the salary scale, and it's our choice. And it's our choice to make the offer, and it's his choice to stay. And the director's choice to stay. Keep in mind there are exit clauses in these contracts. So if a employee decides that grass is greener on the other side, then it's a two-way. It's bilateral. Both parties can exit the contract at any time with proper notice. So when you look at performance, where our district is, just came out today, goals and objectives that we've set as a district as far as our ranking in our district. We're scoring in the top 5% or top 50% in subjects like math and science and reading across all grade levels, and we're achieving high results, and you cannot discount the role that a director plays in that. So I understand that I think it's approximately 13% raise is more than what most people get on an annual basis. But keep in mind, if the market adjusts and we don't adjust with it, then it will come a shock to some board at some time when they're accustomed to paying a certain level and the market is dictating a higher level. So just keep that in mind. That's my position on this, why I would say that a number of 120,000 is still reasonable in market conditions, especially for and reasonable for our district, meaning 14 counties that the state has us associated in. So that's my comments, but have a motion on the floor and a second to adjust the director's salary from 120,000 to 110,000.
Mr. Chairman.
Any other discussion?
Yep, thank you. The ultimate goal is to get to 120. Is that this year? Is that the ultimate goal to get there within 2 years, 3 years, based on the analysis that I know you did?
No, it was this year.
Okay.
The number 120 again, based on 2023, 2024 numbers, districts our size, we were at that point in time we were below average for schools our size in our district, if my math is correct, and added 2% to that number and rounded it off at 120.
So going to 115 is a little over 10%, if I do my
The
math.
motion was to go to 110.
Oh, so,
Yeah, 110.
but we're having discussion, right?
Yes, sir.
So if I amended the motion and suggested 115, that's doable at this time, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I'm basically saying if I were to do that, that's a little over 10% increase if my math holds up.
I think that's correct.
I think if my math was correct, that 110 is a 4% raise, right around a 4% raise.
If the goal is to get to 120 this year, but maybe all the board doesn't feel like that leap, considering everything else is appropriate, a 10% raise, 115-ish, is still a really sizable increase, and I think very reflective of the work that's being done, knowing that we will have this same discussion next year that might get us to even a higher number than 120, again, depending on the market and other districts around us.
Okay, so, Mr. Smith, then you would need to state that in the form of a motion, and it would need a second to consider moving that 110 number to 115. So are you making that motion?
So moved.
Okay. Mr. Smith makes motion to move the 110 number proposed by Mr. McDonald to 115. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Officer. Any discussion on moving the number from 110 to 115?
On this motion, everybody gets a 2% or 2.5% raise. And so Mr. McDonald's motion was a 4%, and this one is a 10%? So is that 2% added
No.
on already?
No. This is just on the director's salaries, what we're talking on right now.
Ho- 2%. So no. So there-
Math teachers in the house.
All right. So bear with me. I'm gonna pull up the exact number. Okay.
Could I speak for just a second?
Maybe. No. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, my wife gets mad because I never advocate for myself. I've never given myself, out of a scale of 4, I've never given myself a 4 on any of my evaluations. And I started too low in this position, but I took it. I signed the contract, so it is what it is. Every year the board has discussed, I've been doing this for 9 years, and every year the board has discussed, that needs to be higher, but we just kind of kick it down the road. I think a few years ago, I didn't get a raise at all. On average, I've gotten a 2% raise every year that I've done this. I've given you the statistics. We're very low for this district, but I stay here because I love it, and I'm proud to be here. I don't know how long I'll do it at this level, but I can tell you you'll be hard to pay somebody what you're paying me when I leave. It's just not worth that amount. We made some, and nobody in this district makes what they're worth. The education just doesn't pay what it should. But there's a cost to doing this job, and my family's paid dearly for it. And I didn't ask for 120. That was put in the budget by request from a board member. I'm scheduled for a 2% raise this year, which would be, I think it's 107.9, somewhere in that vicinity. But I do know that I've done a good job. You may not like me personally, and you won't agree with every decision I made, but we got data back today, and out of 29 tested subjects, we were in the top 5 of the Upper Cumberland in 28 of them. And we were number 1 in the Upper Cumberland in 8, about 30%. So, I stand behind what we've done and what the people supporting me have done, the work that we've done over the past 9 years. But this salary, for the board's information, is way behind. There's 56 directors of schools that have less students than we do that make more than I do. We're 64th in size, and I'm about 117th in pay. So, that's something for the board to consider. If the goal is to get to 120 in a couple of years, I don't know that I'll still be here for that, because it's a costly job. Not a lot of friends in this position. And I'm not asking you to feel sorry for me. That's the job I signed on for. But it is low, and and I understand the optics. I've never asked for a raise outside of, I think a couple of years ago we discussed it and it got denied, because I support the people that I stand on their shoulders every day. And so I know the optics of what that looks like when we're talking about 4% raises for our support staff, and then you're talking about a 10% or 15% raise for me. But it's been like that for 9 years, and for 9 tough years. And so that's all I want to say. I'm going to come in and work hard and do my job and keep loving kids and working hard and pursuing excellence every day, because that's what I do. But this position needs attention for the success of our school system, whether I'm here or not. So, thank you.
Okay.
I do have one question, and I know you laid that out there, and if I didn't see it in our email, if we get to 120 this year, where does that put us amongst the Upper Cumberland and the schools that we are equitable size with?
Well, right now, my salary is out of 15 Upper Cumberland counties, I'm 11th. That would put us in the ballpark of the top 5, but those have changed since these numbers come out. I always say the top 5 in the Upper Cumberland in all of our scores, because I think size-wise, we're similar size, we're similar numbers, and we outperform the larger districts in so many different areas. But nevertheless, that's my goal, and so I would think our salaries are that way too. That's why we can't match, as Ms. Fowler said, we can't match Putnam County's fiscal capacity, but I want to be competitive, and I think we can be, and I'm competitive with salaries, I'm competitive with our scores. So I think if you were at a 120 number, I think that puts you in the top 5, which is respectable. But like I said, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 districts smaller than we are that are above my salary right now.
So when you say Upper Cumberland, you're talking about the 14 typical Upper Cumberland counties?
Yes.
All right. Not ending discussion, but I just want to make sure that we understand where we're at. We have a motion to amend the motion made by Mr. McDonald to reduce the budget line item for director's salary from $120,000 to $110,000. The motion on the floor right now is for that number to be $115,000. So we need to take care of the $115,000. Have a motion and a second. We will discuss this until I sense that there's no more discussion to be had. This is on Mr. Smith and Ms. Officer's motion.
Mr. Chairman, or maybe Mr. D, at 115, where do you fall? Where does the position fall, I should say?
In the Upper Cumberland, based on this last year's numbers, it puts it in the 6th or 7th range.
And just for information, here's who's paying more than White County in that district. Currently, who's paying more? Smith County, number 1, believe it or not. Putnam County, number 2. Warren County, number 3. Cumberland County, number 4. Cumberland County at 118, and I think these numbers are based on 2024 data. Macon County, district comparable to our size, their number was 118,000. Clay County, a district almost a quarter of our size, paying 113,000. Jackson County, again, a little bit more than a quarter the size of our district, they were paying $110,000. DeKalb County, they are approximately 60% of our district at 28 enrollment of 2817. They're paying $109,000. Cannon County, a district about half our size, paying $109,000. Fentress County, approximately 60% our size, they're paying $108,000. We come in 11th at paying our director $105,700. Those are Upper Cumberland counties. So, those are your numbers where that falls. If at the 115,000, based on these numbers, assuming they have not adjusted, I think it was brought up that Macon County had to go hire a new director. I'm not sure what that compensation was. That would get you up in the around 30%, top 30%, top third of a pay scale in the district. All right, we're still working on getting our numbers. Motion and a second on that. I think we need to address this Mr. Smith and Ms. Officer's motion to amend Mr. McDonald's 110 number. So, any other discussion?
I just want to say, and I'm not being negative because I think he does a great job, so I'm not, but some of those schools listed have multiple high schools. Even Smith County, they may be smaller than us, but they have Gordonsville and Smith County. So, I mean, I'm not being negative by no means, but I would actually like to see their school budgets to see how do they, I'm not going to say justify, but, how they're able to pay it with because some of them, was pretty good there to be little. But I will say, I did figure it up. So at 8.5% of the $105,800, 8.5% is 114,793. So we're right in between the 8.5 and 9. Just to clarify, because I think you asked.
So the 115 is about 8.5%
It's
increase.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Just a little
Okay.
over. Yes,
So
sir.
just for clarity, thank you for doing the math. Okay. So for everybody's clarity, 115,000 would be an 8% increase, which is actually a 6% increase over our obligated contract amount. All right. So if there's no more discussion, we're going to take a roll call vote to move to amend the $110,000 proposed by Mr. McDonald to $115,000 as proposed by Mr. Smith. So we'll start to my right. Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Douglas.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
In an unprecedented move, I'm going to, because of the passion that I saw from him, I'm going to vote yes for this.
Okay. Ms. Fowler.
Yes.
Ms. Stone. Ms. Officer.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes. So going back, Mr. McDonald's motion now has been amended. And now the motion on the floor is to amend the $120,000 budgeted line item for our director's salary to amend that to $115,000. Any more discussion on this amendment?
Mr. Markham, at what point in the year, from the new budget year, at what point in the year do we know when we're going to be in excess? Is that in January? Is that in February or March? Do we know, when do we know that?
You mean like
Overall,
from the previous year?
from previous year, like last year, we were at a 3.2 deficit, but we're coming in at a $2 million surplus.
I mean, we can kind of tell as we go, but, to give you an exact number, we'll need to, be more toward this period in the
Okay,
fiscal
so
year.
it's
But I mean, by July, end of July, 1st of August, we can tell you how we finished out the previous fiscal year.
Okay. All right. I was just trying to think ahead for next year at this time, so thanks for clarity.
Mr. Markham, what I think Mr. McDonald was saying, at some point during the year, will we figure out if we're still going to be in a negative, or when would we might know if we're going to be in a positive, correct?
Yeah, well, by mid-year, we'll know, kind of how things are trending. And if we can tell if it's going to be significantly below our expectation or. So, I mean, to tell you if we're going to be a little negative or a little positive, we might come in there. But if it's going to be significantly negative, we would definitely know that early on in the year, so.
Mr. Markham, is there a way to know if, for this current year, at what point the proposed revenues exceeded the proposed expenditures? Does that question make sense? So
It does. The revenues in county government and in the school system are not consistent throughout the year, and so they never match up exactly. So, like in the mid-spring, we're pretty heavy as far as revenues, against expenditures. But then as we get toward the end of the fiscal year, we start running end-of-year payrolls and start having some rather large expenditures. But that's when our revenues dry up too, and so it's hard to tell.
So just for clarity, our fiscal year is July 1 to June 30th, correct?
Correct.
So, if I could share a thought, comment on this. So, the budget, what we plan to spend each year is in our budget. That money only changes if we as a board change it. And we do that through amendment. So what I see is that if there is, say, an unforeseen expense that our administrators are not able to repurpose money from one account that maybe they didn't need to buy that extra panel board, and they take that money and they come over here and they put it in another fund, they have the discretion to do that based on our approval, but that's how, at the end of the day, they're not coming back and saying, hey, in May of 2024, we passed a budget that was $20 million, and now we have overspent, so we need you to approve pulling $1 million out of general purpose fund and putting that to cover our expense. We are in control of that, okay? When you look at, from a county's perspective, the revenues are somewhat variable in if people pay their taxes and if they pay them on time. But the state money comes in, I mean, it's pretty much locked in. what the state says they're going to send us, they will reimburse us that money. So, and that's just for everybody's understanding, the state pays 80% of our White County's budget. 80% of White County's general purpose education budget is paid from the state. We only get approximately 20%. We do have federal monies that come in, but it's a little less than 20% monies that come from the county, approximately $7 million, roughly, based on my calculation. So from a state standpoint, the revenue is pretty much locked. The only variable that you're going to have is going to be from the local collections. That might be variable, but outside of that, it's the reason we get budget surpluses at the end of the year is because our staff is being frugal and responsible with the funds that we've set forth in the budget we've set forth. They have not spent as much money as we have budgeted. So to answer the question, at what point do you know? You pretty much know when it's approved. Because if the county, the real variable is the county, and the county has, by statute, they have a maintenance of effort that they are required to give to their district. So I think what the question is, it's not it's the question is, okay, how are our expenses trending? That can be a moving target. But as far as revenues, the revenue's pretty much set.
That's well put, Mr. Chairman. The ability for us to increase our revenues from the state, does that solely depend on enrollment? Pretty much?
Yes.
Okay.
That's called PISA funding per pupil. And when enrollment drops, then we as a district lose money.
Excuse me, and if more and more people start homeschooling, that does cut into our money.
Correction. I'm sorry, Mr. Markham. I misspoke. And Mr. D. At some point, if people, as Ms. Stone rightly said, decide to homeschool, then we do have some money at risk. Out of our 3,600 enrollees in the county, in our district, we have approximately 400 that we're responsible for that are under homeschool. Is that correct? Homeschool or homebound? No, homeschool.
The number?
Did I say 400?
No, it's close to 900.
900. Okay, I'm sorry. So, times 900 times $7,000. You can do the math. Okay. So we need to make our district attractive to people. Say, hey, it's good to be part of White County, in the White County school system, because we run good schools. We keep the nonsense to a minimum, and we produce good, well-educated students that go out in the world and are successful. That's what our staff does. That's what our administrators are doing. That's what the data speaks for itself. We, in White County, our school system, we produce. And when the rewards and that we got the acknowledgement, Director and I, we went and told our county commission that. We went and told the city mayor and alderman. We told them that. I mean, make no mistake about it, White County schools have a very, very good education system. We produce well-educated kids of from all walks of life, and we'll continue to do that. And I appreciate the fact that he says he stands on the shoulders of good staff, because he does, and I appreciate the fact he recognizes that. But I want to tell you something. It starts, somebody's got to lead. And we are very blessed to have a good leader for our district. So, I'm sorry, that was soapbox, but it's the truth. All right, so motion passed that we move, change Mr. McDonald's number from 110,000 to 115. So, have a motion on the floor to amend the $120,000 for our director to $115,000. No, we didn't. I'm talking about Mr. McDonald. Mr. McDonald's, yeah. Mr. McDonald's. We're on Mr. McDonald's motion and Ms. Fowler's second that we amend the $120,000 from $120,000 salary for our director to $115,000. Have a motion and a second. Do we need to have any more discussion on that? Okay, then we'll start. We'll start with a roll call vote. And did I start?
I'll start it.
Start, Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald voted yes. Ms. Douglas.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Officer.
Yes.
Ms. Stone. Ms. Fowler.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes to amend the director's salary from $120,000 to $115,000.
Thank you all. I appreciate your support, and I'm honored to lead the school system, and I do appreciate everybody that works in the school system and makes it great. I'm just honored to lead it, and I appreciate the opportunity and the support that you give me. Thank you.
All right. So those are two items that the items that I felt we needed to address. Is there anything else in the proposed budget for fiscal year 2026 that we need to address? Okay, then I want to recap what we are voting to approve for the general purpose school fund. We have a motion and a second to approve the 2026 general purpose school fund that has been amended by removing the $2,000 local licensed administrators and school psychologists bonus of $2,000. It added by amendment a $500 bonus for full-time staff, totaling approximately $170-ish thousand. I'm going to say $170,000, and if we need to amend the number, we can amend the number, the exact number. Can we not at regular meeting? So. Okay, correct.
Okay.
We know the amount, and you'll know the numbers. That would be, so we're passing that dollar amount per employee.
Okay.
We said, did we have the exact number on that?
I don't know that we can get to that based on the information was provided because of the 30.
Is everybody comfortable with that? We trust that will be reflected. Okay,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure. And then with that amendment, and then the last amendment is the director's salary being removed, being amended to $115,000. So that's what we're voting on. Going to give you one last chance for opportunity for questions or discussion, but then after that we'll take a roll call vote. Okay, we'll go roll call vote. Start with Ms. Fowler.
Are we voting on
We're-
accepting the?
We're voting on approving the general purpose school fund
No.
budget. Ms. Stone.
No.
Ms. Officer.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Douglas.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Motion passes. So that concludes our agenda item for the general purpose school budget. And Ms. Sally will get that amended, and then we will get that to Mr. Markham, and then that will move forward to the county.
When, Mr. Markham, when does that go to the county? Is that first meeting in June?
Yeah, it'll be before the budget committee on Monday night.
Okay.
This
And they-
Monday.
Yeah, this coming Monday night, and then the
Okay.
county commission would hopefully take it up on the third Monday night.
All right, so that leaves us down to next item on our agenda, and that's the approval of the 2026 school nutrition budget. Confirm with Ms. Savage, no changes have been made to that budget proposal from our meeting on Tuesday night. So this time I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McDonald, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll go roll call vote. Start with Ms. Douglas.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Officer.
Yes.
Ms. Stone.
Yes.
Ms. Fowler.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Motion passes. All right, next item on our agenda is we're presented with the approval of of an AIA contract for the classroom additions at Dole Elementary. The reason this is bringing forth in tonight's meeting is to try to give our general contractors the opportunity to get started on that a couple weeks earlier than would be originally stated. So that's the reason why that's been brought up to us for tonight. So entertain a motion for approval of the AI contract for classroom additions at Dole.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McDonald. Any discussion?
So just for clarity, this is 7 classrooms and storage on the front side of the Dole School, attaching to the hallway, redoing the front entrance of that school. Is that correct? Oh, sorry.
Yes, that is correct. The contracted amount is $1,748,500. That was in the contract, and Midstate Construction is the contractor.
And that was contractor that won the bid that was put out by the county. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is public comment. There's no one that signed up to be recognized for public comment tonight, so that leads us to new business. We have no new business item, nor do we have any old business items, so that leads us finally to our chairman's comments. Is the next regular scheduled board meeting will be June 12th at White County Board of Education. We will have our work session at 5 o'clock and a regular board meeting at 6. This time, entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. McDonald. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you for your effort tonight.